The time is just gone, 29 minutes past 8 a.m. as we continue with our broadcast Wednesday night with myself, Inayat Wadi. Now, we've heard of the Hajj Ministry making the announcement with regard to Hujjaj, particularly from countries like the United Kingdom, from Europe, from Australia, and from the likes of the United States of America, talking about a new portal that basically cuts out agents who typically organize the Hajj trip for pilgrims, for thousands of pilgrims, year in and a year out. And what has happened is with this new portal, the Hujjaj or prospective Hujjaj need to apply via this new portal. And then we've heard of a lottery system where Hujjaj are basically picked out and taking care of their needs, which includes the accommodation and also during the stay in the holy cities. Now, we've seen since this announcement a lot being said, a lot being written, to the extent that we've heard about the UK Hajj travel industry, which is at the risk of collapse after the Saudi Arabian announcement overhauling pilgrimage entry had basically come in. And tonight we are joined by one of the operators in the United Kingdom belonging to we're talking with Ismail Simjee of Barakah Hajj, who is with us out of the United Kingdom. Brother Ismail Simjee, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hayakallah, thank you for having me.
Yes, Jazakallah khairan so much. And obviously, these are difficult times. These are trying times because we are talking about an announcement that was made at the 11th hour. It was a very, very late announcement. And we know Hujjaj, when they get ready, they prepare for a long time. And the same would go for people like yourselves as Hajj operators, well in advance preparations. Then at the 11th hour, it feels like as if the rug has been swept under your feet.
Before I comment, I want to correct something. I myself am not a Hajj Munazzam per se. I work very closely with another party up north in United Kingdom, and we work very closely together. I practically manage the whole of the package with the assistance of the owner's son, Usama, mashallah. So having said that, the announcement that you say can be interpreted in a different way. If general public are listening, they might interpret what you just said as an announcement from the Ministry of Hajj or its relevant authority. Sadly, no such announcement was ever made, or it probably will not be made by Wazaratul Hajj, that those not only in the United Kingdom, but the whole of the Muslim Europa establishment, which covers every single country in Europe and Russia, North America, which is Canada and America, and also Australia, New Zealand, and a few large islands around New Zealand. So all of the operators who were registered Hajj Munazzam up until now are no longer regarded as Hajj Munazzam. Their license or their Munazzam had not been renewed, as simple as that. They have been told that they cannot bring any groups, and they were not told by the Ministry of Hajj, but rather by the Tawafa establishment, who has now taken over and is now offering packages to Hujjaj or aspiring Hujjaj from all of these Muslim Europa countries. It's not only that, there are other countries which are also affected who are not a part of Muslim majority countries. So some countries in Africa are affected and some countries in South Asia as well. So for example, Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, etc., they are affected as well because they are not part of Hajj Council or Hajj Mission, as South Africa is indeed. So what has happened is that the Tawafa establishment at the last minute put forward a package online, and that package uh, is misleading in the sense that it's not a package. It's just one hotel in Mecca and another hotel in Medina. There is no second hotel in Mecca, no in Medina. So applicant have no choice, but if they're successful, once the application is accepted and gone through the draw or the quota system, they will then be asked to pay by card upfront for the whole package. The package price varies, although it's the same in content and duration. There are three separate packages. So the duration is from 21 days to 14 days. The hotel in Mecca is called La Meridian Towers, which is located about 2.5 kilometers away from Haram. The access to Haram is through a tunnel, which is reserved for use by the hotel or government coaches that can all pass through the tunnel. No other traffic is allowed. No pedestrians are allowed to go through the tunnels. In Medina, there's only one hotel. In terms of flight, they have no choice but to take a Saudi Arabian Airlines. When I say no choice, it's a good thing that the Saudi Arabian Airlines are available. My personal view of carriers, as I have used many carriers that flies between United Kingdom and Saudi Arabia, and I find that Saudi Arabia Airlines is the best value for money, service, etc. So at least the aspiring applicants who will be successful will have the good fortune to fly Saudi Airlines, inshallah. Other than that, I don't want to make any comments about the quality of the hotel in Mecca, other than the fact that it's quite far away, it's not within walking distance. Medina Hotel is a good hotel. The other unfortunate thing of this package is that it's only half board, and one would have thought that half board will be a breakfast and a dinner, but unfortunately, no, it's only breakfast and lunch. So, what do Hujjaj do for dinner, especially in Mecca, where this hotel is, as I said, 2.5 kilometers away, and it's in a place where there are no shops, no restaurants, nothing at all. Even the hotel don't have any restaurant. All it has got is one small shop that sells milk, biscuit, and bread, etc. So that the Hujjaj will have to take into consideration. Um, in total, the whole of the Muslim Europa gets 35,000 quota, when their original quota is over 120,000. So that 35,000 is distributed for the whole of Muslim Europe and Americas, where United Kingdom gets 3,500 places. My understanding, when the application closed about 48 hours ago, that the applications went over 100,000. So the Saudis will have a hard time trawling through and selecting a draw. Hopefully, people who have applied for more than one place would have applied as a group, because the application portal does allow them to apply in a group. Have they applied in a group, then the chances of being separated when the draw is made is minimized. So the caveat, as I say, is that if I've applied for myself, my wife, and say a couple of children, and if my application goes into a draw, then the chances are that my two children may not get it. The chances are I may not get it. The chances are my wife and myself will get it, but we will get it on a separate flight, and my children will get it on another flight. So these are the gray areas with the portal doesn't define as to what process you will go through once you are successful. In terms of impact on UK, obviously, the 120 munazzams at the last count, with the total allocation for UK around 29,000. That was cut down to 12,600 and further down to 3,500. So for the applicants who are applying online and who are IT clever or smart, they can maneuver through the application process and probably will be lucky to get drawn. But a majority of those who will be going will have preferred to go with a allocated group, a registered group. All 120 Munazzam in UK are registered with the Companies House. They have license. And they are Munazzam, or i.e., they were Munazzam licensed by the Ministry of Hajj. So at least they had all these credentials which impresses or influences an applicant's choice when they apply to go for Hajj. They don't have that anymore. People from all school of thoughts go through Hajj. As a Hajj of a partner with my company, we have 350 places, and we accept people from all faiths, regardless, without prejudice. And we provide absolutely neutral service as far as the religion is concerned, so that we don't differentiate between Sunni, between an Hanafi and a Maliki and a Hanbali, etc., or a Shafi. And we don't discriminate between Sunni and a Shia. Now that is not guaranteed. Where they will be put in Mina camps is not guaranteed. They will not have a group guide to travel with them and guide them through the airports. When they arrive in Jeddah, there is nothing to say how they will be received and how they will be boarded on a coach and how they will. So this is the impact that the applicants will have. But the impact on Munazzam, as I said, 120 of them, some of them, like me, have been in this field over 35 years. See, they have given 35 years of devotion and love. Of course, this is a commercial thing. We all make money out of it. It's a risk halal. In return, we do earn our money, but we provide services. So that service, myself included, 35 years of this service was dashed by just a simple announcement from the Tawafa establishment saying that everyone will have to apply online. We as Munazzams, or I as a partner of a Munazzam, am still waiting for a formal information that I am a Munazzam no more. So I'm hanging in the air. The impact, financial impact. The financial impact, if you forget the year 2020, when Hajj was going to take place, we, like South Africa and anywhere else in the world, except for a Muslim Hajj mission from India, Pakistan, Egypt, etc., we make preparation for Hajj about 8 months ahead of the Hajj. And nearer the time of Ramadan, everything is completed and is ready. As such, in the year 2020, all of us, and I'm talking about UK only, all of us prepared for Hajj packages, paid airliners deposits for the number of people we have an allocation, paid hotels advance money. Some of us paid a little amount, others paid a lot of money. And then all of a sudden, COVID led to the cancellation of Hajj. And those of us who have paid money to hotels, 90% of us are still waiting for the refund to come back from those hotels. Around 10% of us were fortunate enough to get the money back, or we never paid any hotels anyway. So we had that commitment tied up in Saudi Arabia from the hoteliers, which themselves were shut down for 2 years for COVID. And a majority of hotels in Medina are still shut. Okay. Majority of hotels in Mecca open in Ramadan, but not in Medina. As a result of not having any business over 2 years, these hotels are not in a position to refund the money. And the understanding between us as Munazzam and the hotel was that, okay, what we will do is you don't pay us our refund because you don't have the money. We will use that money paid to you for this Hajj. So we were committed already for this Hajj as we were committed for 2020. On top of that, some of us who were not committed went ahead when we were assured about a month ago to do a profile update. And that we saw as an indication, as a nod from the Ministry of Hajj, that we are back in business. So when we had our profile done, all of us went ahead, prepared packages, sold it. And some of us paid the hotels as well for this year. And we sold, we took booking. Not all of us, but most of us. So there are those who are stuck since 2020, who are committed to already to their Hujjaj that they will be taken this year, and then those of us who committed ourselves this year. Now, we don't have money. Not all of us are wealthy. Not all 120 Hajj operators have good bank balances. And this is a business where I'm pretty certain that 95% of Hajj Munazzam never take out a loan because interest is involved. Riba, which is haram. To tie a riba with a Hajj package doesn't sit together. So, us, the impact on us, I suspect and I fear, and I hope my fear is wrong. I suspect and fear that at least 50% of the Hajj Munazzam in UK will hit the wall this year, and that they will have to be bankrupted. Either that, or they will have to sell their house to pay back, or they will have be forced to take out loans to pay back the Hujjaj. The UK law regards Hajj and Umrah trips as not a pilgrimage. It's a Christian country. It doesn't recognize Hajj and Umrah as a pilgrimage tour. It regards it as a holiday package. And holiday package has very stringent rules attached to them in UK. When we book up someone for a trip overseas, whether it's Hajj or a holiday in say South Africa or Mauritius, we have to issue an ATOL receipt, and that ties us down. An ATOL receipt means that if we are unable to service you with the promised package, we have to refund you, and that refund must be made within 14 days of knowing that this package is cancelled. Those 14 days had been long ago become valid, and we are in big trouble. Sadly, over 50% of our munazzams are also sleepwalking. They still don't believe that they have been relieved of this authority, this honorable authority of organizing Hajj package to Allah's house. And they still believe somehow that tomorrow when they wake up, their license will be restored. Or if not, then next year they will be back in business. Sadly, in my 35 years of experience of working with Saudi Arabia, whenever the Saudi Arabia passes a new law or a policy, that becomes irreversible. I have never ever seen Saudis reverse back or take it back again. So to sum it up, it has been a great wrong done to all of my colleagues, not only in the United Kingdom, but throughout the Muslim Europa nations who are affected, as well as those colleagues who are not in Muslim Europa, but in other Tawafa establishments, but also relieved of their honorable duty of organizing packages. It has that there has been a big wrong done to them. The best that the Saudis could have done, if they were planning to take away this authority from us, is at least give us a chance to mend our house. I believe that a 2 years notice would have not gone amiss with us all here. Had the Saudis announced this year that come 2025, you will not be organizing Hajj packages, it will go online. That would have given us chance to recoup our money, to readjust our lives, and see if we can begin trading somewhere else to diversify our profession. Unfortunately, none of that happened. And unfortunately, no formal notification have yet been issued by Ministry of Hajj that we don't exist as Munazzam anymore. I stop here. I've spoken a lot. Thank you very much. I can't hear you. I'm unable to hear you. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I just needed to unmute. Okay, there we go. I'm saying that, obviously you've given us a comprehensive overview of the issue at hand and also the consequences and what this actually mean for the Hajj operators. And I've actually seen certain comments where I think one of the operators speaks about this being a nightmare and threatening to wipe out a huge industry. It is a 175 million pound industry. But I've also seen someone by the name of Yasmin Qureshi, the chair of the all-party parliamentary group on Hajj and Umrah, saying that she had warned the Saudi government that their packages do not meet UK travel regulations. And she even told them about the whole rollout as far as this portal is concerned, saying that if something goes wrong, what is the ultimate comeback for the pilgrim? Because, as you mentioned, at this point in time, you are battling as Hajj operators to get your money back since 2020, and also in your preparation for this year's Hajj, monies have been taken, and these are obviously going to be huge problems. It's going to be massive problems. But just looking at it from a government to government level, uh, looking at Britain and Saudi Arabia, for instance, you've got good relations on a diplomatic front, pretty close, I would say, as well. Is the government able to assist? Has any approaches been made to the British government, for instance, regarding the dilemma of the Hajj operators?
As, as for good relationship, Yasmin Qureshi is the chair of the APPG for Hajj and Umrah side. The APPG, All Party Parliamentary Group, for almost all kind of titles that comes under political Britain. Okay, and what Yasmin Qureshi chairs is a parliamentary group that overlooks and advises on the Hajj and Umrah pilgrimages. She, in her capacity as a chair, have made contact with the Saudi desk in Foreign and Commonwealth Office of United Kingdom's Foreign Office, and she made contact with the Consul General in Jeddah and also the ambassador, UK ambassador in Riyadh. Um, but that's all they can do. Is uh, this is the all-party parliamentary group level. It doesn't have the punch of the government. We will say the government have the Ministry of Commerce, the Secretariat of Commerce and Trade here in UK, have they acted on our behalf and stepped in, then that will have become a government level. This is not a government level approach. The Saudis know that. The ambassador of Saudi Arabian government in UK also got a letter from Yasmin Qureshi, and he replied accordingly. His reply is very non-committal, and he directs Yasmin Qureshi to people in Saudi Arabia in terms of the money stuck by the Hajj Munazzam, and the ambassador is saying what they should do, which is something that we already know. Um, all the UK ambassador can do and did was write a letter to the Ministry of Hajj. And he got back a letter from Ministry of Hajj saying that this is an internal matter. It relates to religious affairs, and they want to take control and organize the Hajj in a far more better way than what they regard as the foreign-based Hajj agents can do. That's the answer. Sadly, that is where we are. And I was speaking to a colleague in South Africa and a colleague based in East African countries who are not caught in this net of having been relieved of their services. I warned them. I warned them that we in UK, at least I in UK and a few of my colleagues saw it coming at least 2 years ago when we saw the COVID cancel 2020 and the Saudis going ahead with the Hajj for people from local area, expatriates and Saudis. And 2020, they organized a Hajj for 10,000. And then in 2021, they organized Hajj for over 30,000. And they found the organization so smooth and in a different context and different light. And they saw a lot of money being generated for just for 5 days. Remember, when we go from overseas, we have to arrive there a few days before Hajj, and we stay there and we also visit Medina. But for the locals in Saudi Arabia, they are not obliged to go to Medina. All they do is they come on about 10 to 12 hours before 8 of Zulhajj. That is when the Tashri and Mashair side it starts. Okay, so they come in their haram from wherever they live, from Medina, from Riyadh, from Dammam. They arrive in Mecca, go and perform their Tawaf al-Qudum, and off they go to Mina. And on 15th of Zulhajj from Mina they go home. All right. And for the 5 days of Hajj, they were up. Some of them paid up to 25,000 riyal for service for that. That is a tremendous amount. In terms of UK exchange, that is nearly £5,500 alone. And the Saudis saw how easy it was to make that much money. They're not charging that much this year because the maximum level of service D and service C. There's service A, B, C, and D. Service D and C is for us in UK is 10,000 riyal. For you in South Africa is around 6,000 riyal. But even 6,000 riyal is nearly £1,500 alone for the 5 days. In return of which, what are the applicants getting? Nothing different from what we used to offer before 2020. So the Saudis learned a lesson. They know how to generate money, and they saw that as money being taken out by the foreigners. And they are saying to people who are still in there in sort of in a subtle way, saying, okay, we've dealt with the Muslim Europa this year, your turn next year and the year after. The Hajj missions of South Africa, etc., and Nigeria and India and Egypt are next. Next year, they will be relieved almost 50 to 60% of what they are allowed this year. And the following year, after next year, the whole of the world will go online. And there will be end of all Hajj Muazzim throughout the world.
Well, it certainly is sad that it's gone this way because considering Hajj, the fifth pillar of Islam, it is an ibadat, and many, many people, obviously, even once in their lifetime, look forward to this journey of a lifetime. And as you mentioned, when it comes to the potential, when you see the dollar signs ringing and the pound signs ringing, really, I think all ethics actually get thrown out of the window. And even if it comes to a noble pillar like Hajj, which is a religious obligation. And as you mentioned that, even if it's this year, it's less in Camp A. We in South Africa have seen what's it, 18,500 riyals, which equates to about 75,000 rand in South African currency, 15,000 rand a day for what? Whether it is Camp A, if it's going to be in Camp B, it's going to be something like 5,000 or 6,000 rand a day. And not even your five-star hotels would actually charge the type of money for accommodation and for meals and for what. So, I think at the end of the day, and this warning, I think we in South Africa and other parts around the world that you are issuing tonight, we shouldn't be taking this lightly because, as you mentioned, it could easily happen to us. At this point in time, we are lumped in with Muslim countries. That has been a big talking point in South Africa. It's always been a debating point that why should we be enjoying a quota system, or why should we be at the receiving end of a quota system like other Muslim countries, because we are not a Muslim country. But once again, I think, when you're looking at, for instance, Hajj bodies, for instance, how much clout do they have as far as negotiating with the Saudis go? We spoke about Yasmin Qureshi, but we in South Africa, we've been trying to engage with our government, with the Department of International Relations, and for years and years and years, and we're just becoming stuck, and we're just not making any progress.
True. Well, in other words, I put Hajj as a cash cow. The Saudis know that Muslims are obliged to perform Hajj once at least in their lifetime, more if they are wealthy. And the Saudis knows no matter what obstacles we put in the way, the Hujjaj will still come. That is a cash cow, and they've taken control of that. They took control of the Haramain Sharifain when the king, at the time of King Abdullah, took the title of the custodians of Haramain Sharifain. Instead of being called a King Abdullah, he called himself custodian of the Haramain Sharifain. That was an indirect message to the world saying, we are the custodians and you are our guests. You will come according to the rules that we put in your way, and you will pay whatever charges we lever on you. You have no option. And no matter who you are, you or your government cannot do anything about it. And this kind of thing, I mean, people's eyes have opened just because this happened for Hajj. However, the Saudis have been manipulating long ago. When they started bringing in new rules and new laws about Umrah, it started with Umrah. There was a time when Egypt refused to send anyone, a single Umrah pilgrim, thinking that if we boycotted the Saudis and stopped our Mutamirin from going, they will learn a lesson. Of course, Egypt sends about 100,000 Mutamirin, but then so does India. So does Pakistan. So does Indonesia. In fact, Indonesia sends over 200,000 mutamarin. Unlike Egypt, Indonesia made a subtle approach to the Saudis saying, look, these laws are unfair and the charges are unfair. Can you do something? At the foreign ministers level. And when these foreign ministers, of course, this went unreported, so I cannot quote with evidence, but the foreign minister or the Hajj minister of Egypt actually went to Saudi Arabia, Riyadh. He was received politely, courteously. He was entertained in the foreign ministers in the Ministry of Hajj office. He was given kahwa to drink. He was given dates to eat. He was given hugs and kisses, and he was listened to politely, and then he was sent back home saying, "Thank you. We hear what you say, but we will go ahead with whatever we want." Egypt was then forced at the last minute in Ramadan that year to send back to start sending a mutamarin, having failed to score anything at government level. So, can you, brother Inayat, imagine that where country like Egypt, who is so close to the royal families in Saudi Arabia, Al-Sisi and Salman, I would say, are almost hand to hand. And when at that level they can fail, where do you think UK stands? Or even less, where do you think South Africa stands with Saudi Arabia?
Well, certainly, and there's just so much, as you say, a lot of food for thought in terms of what you are saying, Sheikh Ismail. So basically, essentially, Saudi Arabia is basically a law unto themselves. Essentially, that is what we are saying in a nutshell.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes. Just now, obviously, this is looking at the travel and the Hajj operators, and I'm sure at this point in time, as you mentioned, that there are still those that are living in hope that at some point in time the licenses will be renewed. But I think there are many at this point in time that are at risk, that are at huge risk of closing down, of losing out, and this after many years in
Yes.
business. And
Yes.
just to obviously, I mean, what do they do? I mean, there is no recourse at this point in time, because the thing is, you are battling to get your money out, number one, and number two, you've got to honor your commitments.
Yes. There's no recourse, and we can't do much. If we make a noise, then of course we will go into their books. They will know us. They will remember us. And Saudis have their own way to punish people, subtly put. So there's also this issue about who is bold enough to stand up. We've done whatever we can using our political allies, our lawyers, our lawmakers in the Houses of Parliament through the APPG sectors to try and resolve this issue, and they have all failed. There's nothing we can do. As far as I'm concerned, I've told my colleagues in writing, the ship has sailed. The last ship to leave the port has gone. Look elsewhere.
Well, definitely, and obviously we will follow these developments a lot more closely. But we do appreciate you taking time out and joining us on this broadcast here at Salam Media, inshallah. And I'm sure this is not the end. In fact, I have been informed that there is somebody out of Australia that we will be talking to as well shortly, and I'm sure similar sentiments that you have expressed will be expressed by the representative from Australia as well. But as I mentioned, it is sad that an institution, that a great pillar, that a noble pillar of Islam is now being commercialized to such an extent, or even politicized to an extent, because it's all about control, it's all about power, it's all about money. And in a nutshell, that it's all about. It's not about the Hujjaj, it is not about their needs, it is not about the people who facilitate the needs of the Hujjaj, who take care of the needs of the Hujjaj. And as Muslims, we should be the leaders, but it appears as if we have failed miserably in this regard.
Miserably. You're right. Miserably. We failed miserably. And yes, it is commercialized. And yes, as I said, it's a cash cow. it brings money in. Yes. Well, I hope if my role is finished, I hope I stay on if you're interviewing the brother from Australia, and I hope this
No,
is.
in fact, unfortunately, we could not get him tonight because of the time difference. But we will be interviewing him most likely tomorrow on a morning show. But we definitely will send you the link. We will send you the link, inshallah.
So my request to you, brother Inayat, is if this is recorded, can I have a copy of that, please?
You certainly will. We certainly will. And
You're right.
it is on our social media platforms. People can watch it. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube as well. So people
Okay.
are free to watch it if you can pass a
Oh,
message on.
mashallah. And the people are free to make comments, and people are
Yes.
free to send their comments to me, either criticizing what I've said or correcting me what I've said, inshallah.
Yes, it is on the Salam Media Facebook page as well. So you can obviously inform your audience on the other side.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khairan so much for that, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept. Allah reward you and everyone else that has been involved in the service of the Hujjaj and Alhamdulillah for well over 30 years. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used you for this noble task. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you acceptance, and Alhamdulillah, inshallah, we trust and hope that for the benefit and for the betterment of the Ummah, all these impediments and all what we see happening around us, inshallah, Allah Ta'ala remove them so that we can get back to what we are supposed to do, to be true Muslims, to be sincere Muslims, to be doing things for the benefit of Islam, of humanity, and the Ummah at large, inshallah.
Amin ya Rab. Barakallah fi. Hayakallah.
Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That was Ismail Simjee joining us out of the United Kingdom. And as he has mentioned that, when we look at where we've come from as far as an institution of Hajj goes, and how many of us dream, how many of us pray for the days when we used to enjoy that Hajj, when we went out in the 90s, when you were able to visit the Zamzam well, when you were able to organize your own accommodation, and really things have changed. But did we expect it to change to such an extent where we find an entire industry being wiped out in a country? Like, for instance, in the UK, we're talking about an industry that is worth well over 175 million pounds that is threatening to be wiped off. And with that, I'm going to be leaving you. The time is just gone 6 minutes past 9 from myself and the team. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.